Guys, I'm here to be finishing up Elements of Justice, Episode 7, Trial. This is kind of interesting. I was checking on YouTube, and apparently they just uploaded their final episode of this, of this court thing. I mean, only a few hours ago. What were the odds? But, yeah, I'm not sure if I'll eclipse this. Yeah, this is getting pretty good. It just seems like these trial things don't really need clips, and it's just hard to make it funny. But yeah, it's actually getting pretty good. And yeah, the next one, it looks like it's over 2 hours, and I guarantee you it took them many months to make these things, because I've never made an actual video on. Well, I make video game ones, but they're a little bit easier. They only take me like a few minutes to add clips and stuff. But these, I guarantee you, took days or weeks, etc. Depending on their work schedules. I mean, everybody works. Well, okay, not everybody. I know plenty of YouTubers are too lazy to get a job, and they're like, well, YouTubing is our job. It's like, no, the real world needs workers. Seriously, the fast food industry is really starting to hurt because no one wants to work there. So most of the people working there are kind of jerks, but do what you gotta do to make money. Because that's life. But anyway, let's get to the video.
The forced entrance, passing over the crossroads along the way. But the other royal order wasn't there, right?
No, he wasn't. I went to look for him, and that was when I saw what happened at the statue.
When she saw Sweetie Belle trip royal order, supposedly. That still bothers me. But unless I can prove that
if
that
she
isn't
reveals
what she
to us
saw,
info, won't her
this won't get
friend
me
whack her
anywhere.
with a stick?
And Luna knows it.
Let's return to the witness
In
testimony.
real courts, you're not allowed stuff like that. I said that in a past video.
As for what I did at the castle before I saw the crash, I removed the letter opener and put it in my bag. Then I went to deliver the letter.
Objection!
But wouldn't the letter have blood on it?
Miss Sugarstamp! You're saying that you removed the letter opener, the one that had been stemming the blood flow from the victim's wound, from the body and placed it in your bag? And you did this before you delivered the letter?
Yes! Why? Is there something wrong?
You
Yeah, the letter should,
something wrong
like I
with that
said,
statement.
the letter should be
It's a
bloody.
clear contradiction.
A contradiction?
On what grounds?
How is that thing
defense?
bending?
The
She's only
witness clearly
magically
described her
using one
actions that
side.
night. She killed Royal Order, disposed of his armor, and moved the body, letter opener,
Come
and
on,
all
Leonard,
to the
you're
castle.
1,000 years old. You should
All
be able
pin
to
the
be smarter
crown
than
on
this.
Turning Page and Scootaloo. Afterwards,
Technically, she
flew
was
back to
asleep for
Sakura's
1,000 years,
hut
but
in order
still.
to deliver that letter. I see no
that
contradictions in her
contradicts me.
movements.
It's not her movements that are contradictory. It's the letter that was in her bag. Or more accurately, the envelope.
The envelope?
No blood.
Sugarstamp said she'd placed the letter opener in her bag after she'd moved the body, and that after doing so, she went to deliver the letter. If that's the case, we can reasonably assume that the letter, or rather the envelope containing it, was also in her bag. But if that's the case, then we'd expect to see something else.
Blood.
After all, look at the inside of the bag. It's coated in blood from the weapon. Yet,
Red
when we
paint.
look at the envelope, there's not a single trace of blood. Objection!
I think the mother did
If
it.
that's the
That
contradiction,
she murdered the
defense,
husband and
color
whatnot.
me not impressed in the slightest. The witness could
So,
have simply
three
gotten the time
theories.
she delivered the letter mixed up.
Yes, that's it. I must have delivered the letter before I took out the letter
You're a
opener from the
liar.
body. So before I arrived at the castle ruins.
Objection! Sorry, but that just isn't possible.
Explain, defense.
Do you remember what we uncovered yesterday regarding when the letter was delivered?
Kinda, sorta.
First, the fact that we found this letter in the first place tells us that Sakura hadn't yet retrieved it. According to a friend of hers, Sakura would have collected her mail from earlier that day as soon as it was delivered. This tells us that on the day of the murder, this letter wasn't in the mailbox. If it was, Sakura would have collected it when she returned to her hut that night.
Then when
Very
in
true.
tell was it delivered?
That leads me to my second point, Prosecutor Luna. When we found this letter yesterday, we also found the mail that had been delivered that morning. That mail was in far better condition than this letter. So
Alright.
this letter must have been delivered before yesterday's mail and gotten dirtied as a result. Knowing that, and knowing that it hadn't been in the mailbox when Zecora returned to her hut, we can conclude that this letter arrived on the night of the murder itself.
Okay.
Why, yes. I actually do recall that.
Are you surprised or something?
It was established that the letter could only have arrived that night and not any time prior, wasn't it?
Right. But if you'll also recall, Zecora testified that she'd waited for Scootaloo and Turning Page to return for about half an hour, from 9:45 to 10:10 p.m.
She only waited? She didn't bother looking around?
She had returned to her hut and was just about to turn in. She heard a clanging sound, so she went out to investigate.
Furthermore, we also learned yesterday that Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon also heard a clanging sound at the exact same time, 10:15.
10:15 was
No
when Sugar
normal
Sam
person
killed
can
Royal
remember
Order.
specific
She said
timelines.
she did so by kicking him hard in the side to stagger him, then stabbing him in the head. Her kicking him made a loud, metallic sound.
Which was most likely the clang that Zecora, Diamond Tiara, and Silver Spoon heard.
Therefore,
Again, how's that thing bending?
right before Zecora left her hut, meaning that the letter could only have been delivered after she'd left, not before. Thus, the letter would have been in the bag with the bloody letter opener, rendering the idea that the envelope got no traces of blood on it impossible!
Oh, indeed.
That's basically what she was saying.
Why does
She was
no
just
blood
stretching it
exist on
out.
the envelope?
Defense! You don't mean to say...
Huh?
I do, Prosecutor Luna. Your Honor, we agree that it's impossible for there to be no blood on this envelope, correct?
Yes, I find it a perplexing situation.
True.
So she delivered it, then
We
you
can
went
solve
back
if we just consider one other possibility.
for something.
At the time that the letter was in the bag, the letter opener did not have any blood on it at any point.
It didn't have any blood on it. But how can that be?
Who still uses a letter opener anyway?
The letter
I just use
opener
my
was
finger.
not used to kill Royal Order. It's just a fabricated piece of evidence used to support Sugar Stamp's story.
What?
And if that's the case, then Sugar Stamp's confession about her killing Royal Order and pinning the blame on the kids.
Exactly.
Was it a lie?
Her confession is a complete and utter fabrication in and of itself.
You can actually get in a lot of trouble for doing that. For lying in court.
Order! Order in the court! Miss Sykes, this is astounding! You mean to say that this witness has been lying to the court this whole time?
I
Yeah,
am, Your
think?
Honor. Objection!
Defense! That is absolutely preposterous of you to claim.
You
Need
saw
I
the
remind you
evidence,
that
or heard the
blood
evidence, you
found on the
stupid
letter
horse.
opener matched Royal Orders? It could only have gotten there when the witness stabbed him with it.
Objection! That doesn't explain why the envelope has no blood on it. So long as that contradiction exists, we cannot accept the letter opener was the murder weapon.
I'm inclined to agree, Prosecutor Luna. The when is not as important as the why here.
Then perhaps we need to clarify both questions.
What do you mean?
Your Honor, I believe now would be a good time for us to re-summon the lead detective, Private Eye, to the stand. He
Okay.
should be able to clarify once and for all these details surrounding the letter opener and the blood found on it.
Yes, that
I guess
would
courts
make
can have
sense.
exciting parts, but
Very well.
real life courts are
Let
boring as
Private Eye
hell.
back onto the witness stand, please.
I mean, unless he's seeing like Judge Judy or something. I only randomly watched it when my mom watches it.
expected.
Forgive me, my lord, but for what reason have I been summoned?
Prosecutor Luna has requested that you provide testimony.
She has. About what?
We would like you to testify regarding the forensics surrounding the murder weapon, the letter opener. The Golden Pixie has suggested that it cannot be the
Why do you
murder
keep
weapon.
calling her that?
You are to demonstrate why it must be, Detective.
I see. Very well. If it would please the court.
Top to the morning, do you, Governor?
Truthfully, it's a rather open and shut matter. The blood found on the letter opener belonged to the victim, meaning it must be the murder weapon. More than that, though, if you take a look at the head wound, you'll find that it matches the shape of the letter opener. The helmet was found at the river's mouth.
You got stabbed in him when he was already
It has a
dead.
hole matching the size of the weapon, further supporting Miss Sugarstamp's testimony. If it's all a lie, then the blood, wound, and helmet would all have to be some sort of fabrication.
Or they took the blood out and just started painting stuff.
You see, Golden Pixie?
Not that hard to do,
The
people.
facts are irrefutable. No matter how
I think
you
some
look
people
at
do
it,
that with
that
animals.
letter opener is the murder weapon, meaning Sugarstamp is the true killer.
I'm not so sure about that, Prosecutor Luna. We've already established her testimony is suspect at best. Wouldn't it be wrong of us to assume all the supposed facts are irrefutable?
So you still intend to go down this route?
You're just afraid you're going to get your
I
butt
do.
kicked by a human.
I see.
Thank you for your testimony, Detective. Defense, you may begin your cross-examination.
Both the hole in the helmet and the wound match the letter opener, and the blood matches the victim's. So, if the letter opener is fake evidence, how would all of that be possible?
Because he
There's
rubbed
only
it on the
one
blood.
thing I can think
it's
of.
not that hard to do. Most video games kind of have to do that kind of stuff.
Truthfully,
I've seen
it's
too
a
many
rather
video
open and
games,
shut
God.
matter.
Never played them,
Blood
but I like
found on
watching
the
those
letter
stuff
opener
games.
belonged to the victim, meaning it must be the murder weapon.
How do we know for certain the blood belonged to the victim?
Did you do the test?
Because, Miss Sykes, several ponies tested it individually. There's no doubting the same consensus being reached by so many.
Like I said, they rubbed it. Rubbed the blood all over the blade.
Yeah, I guess
For
that's
the
fair.
pin thingy.
Surely you knew this already, Golden Pixie. Why are you insisting on this useless
Maybe we should just start nicknaming you
It's
email
not
floors.
useless. It's the tried and true method of the Right Anything Agency. Private Eye, the blood may match the victims, but that alone isn't enough to prove that the letter opener is the murder weapon.
I would agree with that, Miss Sykes. Which is why... More than that, though, if you take a look at the head wound, you'll find that it matches the shape of the letter opener.
So you're saying that the wound's shape matches that of the letter openers? How can you be so certain?
After we found the letter opener in Miss Sugarstamp's bag in Canterlot, along with the blood, we conducted 2 tests. The first was the blood test, which came back positive for royal order. The second involved examining the wound itself to look for any notable characteristics which might match a certain weapon.
And what were some of those notable characteristics?
One was the presence of track marks found in the victim's head.
Okay.
Track marks?
Yes, these are the marks that a stabbing weapon, such as a knife, might leave when it is thrust into a body.
Ah,
If the
okay.
weapon has a distinct styling to it, it'll leave trace impressions.
Ah,
Within the
okay.
wound, we managed to find several impressions that match those found on the letter opener in Miss Sugarstamp's bag. Along with that, on the outside of the wound, we did not find a hilt impression. The letter opener does not have a hilt, so that is another match. Though not quite as substantial as the previous one, admittedly.
I guess that would be pretty indicative of it being the weapon. So that proves the body was actually stabbed with the letter opener. No use trying to debunk that. The question is, when did that happen?
Let's continue.
I still think they probably stabbed him
Detective,
when he was already dead.
What else supports Sugarstamp's confession?
helmet was found at the river's mouth of Froggy Bottom Bog. It has a hole matching the size of the weapon, further supporting Miss Sugarstamp's testimony.
But only the helmet itself was found, right?
That's correct.
But not the armor. Wouldn't the armor be a stronger contender for supporting her testimony?
Why?
It would. But as I
It hit the
understand it,
head, not
Miss
the whole
Sugarstamp
body.
testified that she disposed of the entire armor set in the river. Given that we found the helmet at the mouth of the river, it seems logical
How
to
much you
assume
would
the
have
rest
bet they're
flew
gonna
out
find
into
the
the bog
armor right
and
at
sank.
the last second?
Which would support Sugar's testimony, but at the same time, it conveniently removes the need to prove definitively that the rest of the armor was there at all. Doesn't it?
The helmet was there, which matches Sugarstamp's testimony, suggesting it's the truth. And if it isn't... If it's all a lie, then the blood, wound, and helmet would all have to be some sort of fabrication.
It is a clone, isn't it?
Some sort of fabrication, you say? I assume you don't mean that the helmet would have to be fake.
No, that would be a bit much. I suppose I mean that some other aspect of it would have to be fabricated, if not the helmet itself.
Some other aspect? Like, say, where it was found? Or perhaps more specifically, how it was brought to where it was found?
I suppose that could be one way, yes.
Oh yeah, because it was moved.
Golden Pixie! Don't tell me you're suggesting...
I don't even know what
So
you
you admit
suggest.
it could be a possibility, Detective? Instead of getting there by river, that helmet could have been carried to the scene and placed there?
No, that's quite impossible, Miss Sykes.
Why?
Oh? And why would that be?
The bog itself, where the helmet was found, was not considered relevant until the end of the previous trial. It was sealed off once that was determined. For some pony to have brought it there for us to find, they would have had to bypass that seal. An impossibility, I'm afraid.
Is that right?
Wait, wasn't
Private
the
Eye,
one
could
that
you amend your
the rock that
testimony
was
and add
moved?
what you just said?
Certainly, Miss Sykes.
Because if he went to a mirror pool,
No one knew the bog
Unless
was
he went
related to
somewhere
the
else.
crime scene until the previous trial, after which it was sealed off. No pony could have entered to plant the helmet.
Objection! Private Eye,
unless you
I'm
could fly.
sorry to say that you're completely wrong about that last statement.
Is that so?
It's true that the bog was sealed off at the end of the previous trial, but it's not true that no pony could have gotten in. One pony in particular would have had access to the scene. And by having access, they would have had the chance to bring the helmet there to plant it, all in order to support Sugarstamp's testimony.
You don't mean...
Miss Sykes, who could this pony be?
There's only one answer, Your Honor. It's the pony who ordered that the bog be sealed off in the first place.
You're blaming him?
Aye.
What? Again? You're blaming some random guy again? She's not learned her lesson.
Order! 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 Miss Sykes, I am starting to get tired of these repeated accusations towards every witness.
As am
Yeah.
I, Your Honor. Not only is this a reckless act, it is completely impossible.
Why is that, Prosecutor Luna?
You claim that the detective brought the helmet to the bog himself. How? His fellow officers were on the scene. They would no doubt have noticed if he'd brought the helmet with him.
That's true. They would have been able to notice. But what if they had no reason to? No reason to think he was carrying the helmet with him.
What are you blabbering on about, defense?
You could have sneaked it in.
When Private Eye and his team went to the scene, he had in his possession something that he could have used
I
to
hope you're right,
conceal the
because you're gonna
helmet.
get in a lot of trouble if you're proved wrong again.
The victim's travel case?
Private was the one who brought this case to the scene that day. He ordered that the forest be sealed off and opened only when he arrived. Meaning, Private
Yeah.
Eye could have easily stashed the helmet inside this case prior to arriving at the forest,
Could
bringing
you?
it along with no one the wiser.
Aren't half helmet's bigger than that?
This is absurd!
If it's so absurd, then let's ask the witness himself.
What in Equestria do you want me to say?
Well, why don't you repeat to the court your actions in the Force that day, including when you had the travel case with you? That should clear everything up. Not going to? That's fine. I think I've got a good enough handle on your movements to describe
How
what
many
you
ponies
did.
are involved in
You and
this?
your team of investigators first went to the bog. You had the travel case with you because you had taken it from the police station after we requested to see it. Once you got it, you stashed the helmet inside. When you arrived at the bog, and while your team was busy investigating, you planted the helmet at the mouth of the river so that it would be found later. Then, you and your team went into the mirror pool cavern. You placed the travel case there, open on the cave floor, to show us when we arrived.
I mean, this is like
That's
an iceberg
how the
case.
helmet ended up being
I think that's
planted.
what they call it.
And how, as
It's like
you
one
said,
thing after another.
it
It's
was
like,
a
what the heck is going on?
fabrication. And that means that it no longer
Oh, it's just
supports
one
Sugar Stamp's
one pony
testimony,
get involved.
which itself can now also be considered a complete fabrication.
No! I refuse to accept this defense. There's still one thing you haven't explained. The one thing that your entire theory is predicated on.
Oh?
One thing,
The blood on the letter opener. All this time you've claimed that it's not the murder weapon. And now you've claimed that his helmet is also fake. If it is fake, how do you explain the blood?
You can
all
put it
right,
on.
Prosecutor Luna. I've got the evidence that explains that blood stain right here. Take that!
That's...
Defense? What is that?
This is a blood sample I requested Private Eye give me while we were waiting in the lobby before today's trial. It contains the blood of the victim, Royal Order. Now, I'd asked Private Eye to get this blood sample in secret. The fact that it's here proves he certainly can conceal his movements. But let me ask this. Where would Private Eye have to go in order to get the blood sample of a deceased murder victim?
Yeah.
Probably wherever the body had been autopsied.
And where would that be, Prosecutor Luna?
Canterlot.
Exactly. Royal Order was a member of the Royal Guard after all. So Canterlot was where he was undergoing an autopsy. And Canterlot?
Was also where Private Eye and his team apprehended Sugar Stamp, as
Like,
well as where they
why
discovered
bury
the
the
bloody letter opener.
Corpse in camp
If
for a
he
while.
had the helmet
What,
with him
Ponyville,
while in
too much of a
Canterlot
redneck
and got
town or
hold of a
something?
letter opener before arresting Sugar Stamp, then it would have been possible for him.
To put the helmet on the body and stab it with the letter opener, leaving the hole in the helmet and a bloody weapon as proof that she'd killed Royal Order.
And that's why the scene was sealed off until Private Eye returned from Canterlot. It was so he had all the time he needed to fabricate evidence to support Sugar Stamp's story. Objection!
Sure, no pony is friendly.
Very elaborate, Golden Pixie. So you say
They
that
said
the
he was like a
entirety
really
of Sugar
nice guy.
Stamp's story is a complete lie? One that our dear detective helped to create?
I am, Prosecutor Luna.
Then what of the planner? Doesn't that support the fact that Miss Stamp really
You
did
can fabricate,
with
you
Royal
write
Order
down
that
your own
night?
stuff on there.
Well, that's what we've been thinking at least. But something about that planner has been bugging me.
And what is that?
Your Honor, the defense has just proven that the legitimacy of two pieces of evidence, the helmet and the letter opener, have to be called into question. In large part, that is because of their association with Private Eye. This planner also shares that characteristic.
It does.
Miss Sykes, you mean to say... But that would mean...
He wrote it down.
And the writing in the journal matches Royal Orders. I checked and double-checked that one personally.
Your Honor, this planner did not undergo testing by an entire forensic team. Instead, it has been tested by only one pony. Private Eye himself.
Ah, yeah.
Word.
Go get.
Your Honor, at this time, I do not think we can trust this witness's words as to the legitimacy of all the pieces of evidence he's handled. As such, the defense requests that the planner be retested immediately, and the horn writing inside be compared to that of both Royal Order and Private Eye.
I agree. That is definitely the best course of action. Prosecutor Luna, do you have any objections?
She gotcha.
Prosecutor Luna?
What? I mean, the prosecution has no objections to the defense's request, Your Honor.
Very well. Bailiff, see to it that the planner be retested.
And give that Private Eye a little thing for his horn.
Well
so
then,
he can't get away.
Prosecutor Luna, have the planner and horn writing been tested?
They have, Your Honor.
And what are the results?
The horn writing in the planner?
Don't keep up in suspense.
Does not match that of Royal Order, but rather that of Private Eye.
Snap to the face.
There you have it, Your Honor. Definitive proof that not only did Private Eye tamper with the facts of this case, but also that Sugar Stamp's story cannot be taken as the truth.
Yes? What do you have to say for yourself?
You are screwed.
Well, now, that is...
Why is he next to her?
Devotion?
You are as persistent now as you were yesterday, Miss Sykes. It's almost admirable.
Almost. What's with her all of a sudden? She seems colder.
I still think she
Your
murdered
Honor,
her husband.
I think I can
think all three of them
explain,
work
at
together.
the very least, why Sugar Stamp's story has so many problems with it.
You can?
But how? The defense has just proven that it's all a lie.
It's not a lie, Your Honor, but I do believe that it's a story affected by all the events of that night.
Affected by...
I'm sure I don't have to point out that seeing the murder was a traumatic experience for all of those involved.
Yeah, because you probably killed him.
Sugar Stamp may not be able to remember all of the details clearly, such as
You can't
the
speak for
actual
her.
weapon she used to commit the crime.
It's true that my memory of that night is a little fuzzy, but I remember one thing for certain. I killed Royal Order. I know I did.
Yes.
Why?
I suppose that it is
we
reasonable
all
to
know.
assume some degree
Not sure if
of
that's true, but
memory loss occurred.
I always have
I can
short-term
also
memory.
explain the detective's actions, though he'd need to see if I am correct.
I would.
Private Eye must have known of Sugar's guilt, but aside from her
Oh, quit
confession,
manipulating,
he did not have
man.
the right amount of evidence to support it. With no way to prove her guilt, he decided he would have to take matters into his own hooves. And that's why...
I see. My lord,
Yes, detective?
it pains me to have to admit this. But what Miss Devotion has just postulated was indeed my thought process.
What? So you're saying...
You're really saying...
What?
It's true. Every word. I confess. I planted the helmet and fabricated the weapon, as the defense stated. This was done for two reasons: to bring justice to Royal Order, and to prove the guilt of the true killer, Sugar Stamp.
This is a
If she is
rather
the murderer, why
unprecedented
isn't the
series of
wife
events,
the
I must
grandfather murder?
admit. But where does it leave us?
Your Honor,
It leaves us nowhere, defense.
What do you mean?
All this while, you have been focusing your efforts on trying to disprove Sugar Stamp's confession. What we've just heard from both Fair Devotion and Private Eye, however, discounts your entire premise. We're back where we started.
I mean, she's not wrong.
More than that, though, we've gone off on a completely separate tangent thanks to your antics. Need I
I think so,
remind
she
you what this
proved he was
trial is
right.
about?
This trial.
Sugarstamp may have indeed confessed to killing Royal Order, but we are not here to determine her guilt on the matter.
Oh yeah, Sweetie
Today
Belle.
we are here to determine the guilt of Miss Sweetie Belle in regards to her own crime.
Well, she won't freaking talk.
You should attempt to focus on that, and not this other matter.
Prosecutor Luna raises a fair point. This trial
probably
is about the
threatened,
alleged murder of Royal Order by Miss
Sweetie
Sweetie
Belle.
Belle. And as
To not
such,
talk.
we must focus on that case before diving into another.
No. I know Sugarstamp's confession is a complete sham. And I know that her previous testimony can't be trusted, especially if it's reliant on her phony
Well, Sweetie
confession.
Belle speaks up. I
But
guarantee
how
you
can I
she's gonna have a
demonstrate
different
that
story.
definitively if Fair Devotion and Private Eye have now testified in support of what she said?
Defense?
You would help if freaking
Yes,
Sweetie Belle
Prosecutor
spoke
Luna?
up.
You appear to be at a loss.
Is it really that obvious?
Perhaps you and the court would benefit from a quick refresher.
Proceed, Prosecutor Luna.
Thus far, we have heard testimony from two witnesses, Fair Devotion and Sugarstamp. They claim to have witnessed the defendant accidentally kill Royal Order at the statue. We have also heard the reason why there were two Royal Orders that night. It was because of the affair he was having with Sugarstamp.
How do you know that wasn't fabricated?
Earlier, the defense postulated that this affair may have been part
Or
of
not-
why Fair
maybe she
Devotion
tricked the
decided
other-
to
the
venture
other
into the
girl
Everfree Forest after
Sugar
her
Samp write it
husband.
down.
That matter has not been settled, however, due to the defense attacking Sugarstamp's confession and questioning its legitimacy. For us to get back on track, then, we should focus on these witnesses' initial testimonies once more. And perhaps more specifically, we should focus on Miss Fair Devotion's testimony. Does that sound reasonable, defense?
Oh, I see where this is going.
Someone take that away from her.
Surely the defense isn't about to name me a suspect because of this affair and discredit my testimony all to save her own client. Is she?
It's not just Luna
Maybe.
anymore. Now Fair is trying to guide me as well. But to have me name her a suspect... Why? Twilight, do you have any idea what we should do?
Well, I mean, it seems like we need to hear more testimony in order to back up our claim again. But we can't hear from Sugarstamp
only
since she'll
Sweetie Belle
just
would
double down
freaking
on her confession.
Speak up.
And Private Eye's already confessed to planting evidence to support her confession because he believes it to be true.
In other words, further testimony about what Sugarstamp supposedly did wouldn't help us. The witnesses or the prosecution could easily back up her confession.
Right. So, maybe if we heard testimony about something else that happened that night? From some pony else?
Something from some pony else?
Who else was there
Yeah,
besides the court?
And if I understand what Princess Luna's trying to do, she'd want us to hear from Fair Devotion.
Right.
What's wrong, Athena? I mean, it does make the most amount of sense, doesn't it?
She's just gonna lie.
It does, but I'm still not sure that's the right step to take. There's
Fair
still
Devotion
something
just
off
sounds
about
like
Fair
she's gonna just
Devotion.
lie.
I can't place my finger on it, but it's enough to make me hesitant to follow Luna's suggestion.
Well, what else can we do? This seems like the only course of action we have left. And Princess Luna's trying to grant us as many chances as she can to help Sweetie Belle.
Sweetie Belle. She's the key to all of this, I'm sure of it. More than Fair Devotion or Sugarstamp. I need to find a way to get her to speak up.
Defense, the court will have your answer. Will you hear additional testimony from Miss Fair Devotion?
Yeah, but don't really have much of a choice.
Before I answer that,
unfortunately.
Your Honor, I'd like to ask the defendant something.
Eh?
Miss Sykes,
Very well, defense. You may.
I mean, she says she won't talk, so that's probably
Sweetie
why
Belle.
Luna's mad.
After everything we've just heard, is there anything you would like to add? Anything that comes to mind? Still relying on your right to remain silent, I see. Very well then.
Damn kids.
Your Honor, the defense is ready to declare its next course of action.
You are? Then that means you'd like to hear more testimony from Fair Devotion?
I suppose if the defense really requires more from me.
No, Your Honor, we won't.
Wait, what?
You don't?
What
Well, I can
game
talk
are you
to the
playing
other one.
now,
She's a little bit-
defense?
Oh, I'm
Better, I
done
guess.
playing games, Luna. Yours, Fair's, Sweetie's. It doesn't matter anymore. I'll force the truth out, no matter what I have to do. No more secrets. It's time we finally heard Sweetie's side of this story. And if she won't cooperate willingly, I'll make her. Your Honor,
Are you allowed
at this point,
to?
the defense would like to step down from defending Sweetie Belle.
Athena?
Well, she's right because Sweetie Belle isn't talking. Because you agreed she would help.
Athena? What are you doing?
Because you're not freaking talking, you
That's
stupid
what
kid.
I'd like to know. Miss Sykes, what are you doing?
Have you lost your mind? You can't just step down now!
Actually, I can, Prosecutor Luna. I retain the right to decide who I defend and who I do not.
But you can't! What's gonna happen to me if you don't defend me?
I'd imagine that you'll be found guilty, thanks to the testimonies of Sugar Stamp and Fair Devotion.
Miss Sykes, don't you think this is a bit rash? Diva's right. You can't just quit now.
Oh, I think she's faking it. Just to get her to talk.
Fair Devotion, you've already testified to having seen Sweetie Belle accidentally kill Royal Order. The same goes for you too, Sugar Stamp. Neither of you can back out now.
Objection!
Ooh.
Athena, you can't do this to Sweetie Belle. She's just a filly, for goodness sake. Have you thought this through at
Then
all?
why are you against
I have,
her?
Prosecutor Luna. Believe me. And I can assure you that this is the only way for us to find the truth. The real truth.
But abandoning her...
If Sweetie Belle is willing to testify, then I'll remain as her defense.
Gotcha.
I can't help some pony who won't even help themselves.
Miss Sykes.
Please, Prosecutor Luna. I know this seems reckless of me, but I can assure you, I know what I'm doing. I know this is the way forward. The only way. Please?
Tiptoeing on
Trust me.
glass. Oh boy.
I will try, Miss Sykes.
Even you, Princess Luna?
I am sorry, little one, but she raises a fair point. And it appears you must make a decision. Either you testify, or the defense formally steps down, and the prosecution does its duty.
Princess Twilight! Please! You gotta help me! Don't
This
let
reminds me
me
of
do this!
Shield Hero. I only saw the clips of it, but
Twilight,
that was like kind of
I know what this looks like, but we have to hear from
Annie
Sweetie
do
Belle
that.
somehow.
Horrible
This-
princess.
This was the
Which
only
was begging
way I could
everybody
think of.
before she screwed over. Not literally, but
Yes.
mentally.
You're right. We have to hear from her.
Does that mean
Princess Twilight? Your Honor, the co-counsel for the defense agrees with this decision. As such, unless Sweetie Belle chooses to testify, the defense will step down. No. Please, no.
It's me different. I like how they put a little boss
This is
underneath
all
her.
rather unconventional.
These are unconventional times, Your Honor. And sometimes they call for unconventional methods.
So they do. Very well. The court accepts the defense's decision to step down.
Finally, you're gonna speak up.
Fine. I'll do it. I'll testify.
About goddamn time.
Miss Sykes, I take it this means you will continue on as the defendant's lawyer?
I will, Your Honor.
Duly noted. Now, Prosecutor Luna, do you have any objections to hearing the defendant testify?
She has not tried.
I do not, Your Honor.
Good. In which case, I call for a 20-minute recess to allow all parties to prepare themselves. When we reconvene, we will hear Sweetie Belle's testimony.
And hope you don't regret it.
Court is adjourned.
Alright. As audience, well, yeah. No wonder why they continued. Yeah, that was pretty good. Getting really into it. Hope all of you enjoyed it. And, yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna have adding any clips to these because these are too freaking long. And it's just stress to deal with. Plus, it's just really hard to make it funny. So, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a nice day.